This is your host, Bruce Hutchin, welcoming you to another informative episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast, episode number 340. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Stalker. Today we're going to meet with Mara Budweg of Iowa, and she is on the pro staff for Whitetail Stalker. She's going to be talking about women and hunting. She's going to talk about why she is known as a self-starter. And she's going to share her most meaningful deer hunt. And folks, if you've ever had somebody that you love close to death or in the throes of dying, and then go out and try to hunt, you can understand the emotional feeling she had when the buck came down the trail. So it's a great story. Thank you, Mara, for sharing it with us. It's never too early to think about food plots. Whitetail Rendezvous has an ebook for you. Just simply text 33444 food plot to get your copy. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Stalker. No, it's Whitetail Rendezvous, but we're talking to Mara Budweg of Whitetail Stalker. Mara, welcome to the show.
Hi, Bruce. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm excited because, as you know, I'm working with Mike Grandstaff and then Shannon Sitton and Justin McCoy and all the rest of you guys, and we're doing some neat things on social media. And I'm just excited to have you as part of that crew sharing about Whitetail Stalker. And that's right where we're going to start off. What's so special about Whitetail Stalker?
Well, Bruce, I was brought on the team in December by Justin McCoy. I met him through some Army training, and he introduced me to the Grand Staff. And we talked on the phone and just really hit it off. The core values that I represent as a person is what they really look for as a team member. So I was really honored to be brought on and be asked to be a part of that.
So what do you do as a team member for Whitetail Stalker? Let my listeners know, because a lot of people send me emails saying, hey, Bruce, I want to be on a pro staff. I want to be part of the team. How do I do that? So just share with the guys and gals in North America how you do that.
So what we do as pro staffers is we represent Whitetail Stalker as a team, as a name, and then we also represent the sponsors that we have. So we're using their products, we're getting their name out there. As an incentive, we might get discounts for those products to use, but I won't use something unless I truly stand behind it and want to get their name out there. So just, to help the hunting industry, help me, help you kind of thing.
So help me, help you. So what would be your recommendation, just a couple of things to people that say, I want to get on a pro staff. You were introduced by Justin McCoy, who I know and been on the show, but what would you recommend to people?
Well, what I do is get on social media, because that is going to be your best friend. You're going to find the group that you might be interested or the product that you're interested in, and just reach out and contact people. And be relentless, be persistent, let them know your story, let them know why you're passionate about it and why you should be on the team, and don't stop until they say yes. And, in the warm-up and pre-show, I asked you three things. Does that have something to do with self-starting? Yes, it definitely does.
Well, let's visit that. I know that has connotations for our lives, obviously in hunting, but let's unpack that a little bit. That's an interesting topic, and I want you to share.
All right. So self-starting for me is a big thing, because I grew up in a family that doesn't hunt. My immediate family, I have uncles that go shotgun hunting and do some rifle hunting, but that's the extent of it. So in college, I had a buddy that was into archery and kind of got me interested in it. So what I did is I was at Shields one day buying some supplement for him for his deer herd, and I came across the youth bow. Just so happened to be my draw length, just so happened to be the right price, and I thought, well, if this isn't the right time, I don't know when is. So that's how I got into archery. And after shooting for a little bit, I just fell in love. So that was the first start. Then it was making the contacts and getting the hunts and where to go, and just pretty much learning how to do it, because I had no idea. So I'm truly passionate about that, because I feel like I started from the ground up, from everything, from not knowing anything about hunting to, still learning something every day, but being able to go out on my own and feel comfortable in what I'm doing.
How do you mix that with life, just plain old life? I'm glad you shared about how your stuff started in life, but you seem to me the type of gal that is a self-starter with anything. And how did that come about? Where did that all come from?
That's my core values. I'm a self-starter. I'm very goal-oriented and driven. So if I don't see something in my future, I'm typically not going to work on it or be as fixated on it. So I set those long-term goals, and my short-term goals are putting me towards achieving those long-term goals. I work that in my day-to-day job. I work that in my fitness goals, my hunting goals, just everything all-encompassing.
So I heard a lot of things there, and we talk about hit lists. We start building our hit list in July, August, and that becomes a goal. I typically have $5 to $10, depends on what property and whose property. I don't own any property. Whose property I'm hunting on. Is that an age class that I want to hunt? And goals are important. So tell me about your 2016 hunting goals and how you did on them.
As far as 2016 goes, I got a brand new bow, so I wanted to be comfortable in that bow and precise. So that was the first order of business, was getting that all tuned up and ready to go and feeling confident. And then turkey season came around, and I wanted to get a turkey with my bow, in which I was successful. So I could cross that off my list. That was awesome. And then my big bread and butter, I'd like to think, or my favorite, is fall and hunting the rut. So for me, I don't have my own ground, and I don't have a hit list per se, just because I don't have the time to get out and put out cams and be checking those. But I am utilizing my resources as far as the people who manage that land and what bucks they think would be appropriate. And that also ties into my 2016 deer harvest that I got with my bow, which was my second deer. And that was, it was the most meaningful hunt for me. And just when I can harvest an animal ethically, that is achieving a goal for me. Whether it's big or not, doe or buck, that is my priority, is ethical.
So let's unpack that, my most meaningful deer harvest. Let's talk about that, how it came to be, why it was the most meaningful. Just unpack it.
Okay. So coming up to that hunting season, my uncle had been diagnosed with melanoma, and he had been fighting that battle, and it was, I want to say 2 weeks before I had harvested that deer that really went downhill. And the weekend before, I had been up in the hospital with him, and that Sunday I came home, and I was able to get out and go hunting, and a buck came across, and I had rattled. It was about sunset, probably had 30 minutes left, 45 minutes or so, and just kept coming in at me. It stopped at 20 yards. I was at full, just kept coming, and I thought, all right, well, this feels like it's the one. And all I could think about was my Uncle Greg, and I had been hunting with him quite a bit, turkey hunting, and it felt like it was meant to be, and that deer was to be harvested that day, and I had named that deer Gregor's deer. So that's why it's the most meaningful to me thus far, just with him passing away the day after that, and being able to share that and be in the woods and feel his spirit after harvesting that animal.
Now, how did you find that deer? Tell me about the setup, and tell me about the hunt.
Well, I hunted that stand a couple times. It was new ground to me as of that hunting season, so I wasn't as familiar with it, but I played the wind. Even though the deer had other plans, he came in upwind of me, but still wanted to come at me, so I think he was looking for a fight. Not a huge deer. I did probably a 3-year-old, but he had a broken off tine, and after I rattled, he wanted in, and he kept coming, and I didn't make that shot until 5 yards, and he was right underneath me. I also was using a toxic broadhead. I also pro staff for flying arrow archery, which Whitetail Stalker also sponsors, and that deer went 15 yards, and he keeled over.
Boom.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Wow. And so were you in a tree stand, ground blind? Tell us about your setup.
Yep, I was in a tree stand, probably 20 feet up, pretty good height. And I had been sitting there since about probably 3 o'clock, so a couple hours before he came in.
And did you know he was there, or just you were sitting in the right area and just hoping he was coming by?
I had never seen this deer before. Like I said, I don't have a hit list. This hunting ground is about an hour away from where I live. It's hard to get there, hard to make time to scout that. Plus, I don't like to intervene a lot in the area that I hunt in. Don't like to put pressure on it. And it was during the rut, so I knew I would see something. It was a matter of when and where. And at the peak of the rut, a lot of deer were moving around. There was a buck that was farther out, but he was on a hot doe, and I was not pulling him off. And this year just presented me the opportunity. And like I said, everything going on with my uncle, it just felt like the right time.
So how many years have you been hunting with a bow?
I have only been hunting with a bow, I'd say about 3 years.
So 3 years, is this your first bow kill with your bow, or have you taken other deer?
This is my second kill with a bow. I've only killed deer with my bow.
Wow, that's pretty good, because you kind of learned how to do this yourself. You didn't have a hunting tradition behind you, did you?
Correct. I don't know what it was, but when I picked up that bow, I know compounds make it a lot easier than recurve, per se, and it's different for everybody, but I picked up on it really fast, and I didn't have any bad habits to start with, so I could start initially and perfect that and work on my form, and I know that once I start to get tired, I stop shooting, because that's when the bad habits start. That's really helped me in keeping my form. Also, I have buddy take pictures and video when I shoot, so I can watch my form in slow motion, and that has helped me to pick up on the other things like, trigger squeeze, which you might not really think about, but that's also a big fundamental in gun hunting and really qualifying in the military. That can play a big part in where your shot ends up.
Have you ever heard of steady form?
I have. I have looked into it a little bit, but it just wasn't something that I was ready to jump on board with, because the way my form is right now, I'm happy with it, and I just wanted to keep it that way.
Yeah, I think I told you in the warm-up, you just had Nick Albanese, and I was just amazed, of who he is. He's a real guy, and I was amazed to hear the story, because I hunt with a crossbow now, because I blew out my shoulder, can't hunt with a compound anymore. But it just, what steady form is just made sense to me. And, Nick, there's a free shout out for you. Hey, Mara, how do people get a hold of you? If they want to reach out to you, got questions, how do they do that?
So I have a public figure page under Mara Budweg, Whitetail Stalker. You can find me on there and like my page. And also I have my personal page, which you can reach out and message me on there as well. Okay,
and that's all on Facebook?
Yes, that's correct. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. And I forgot there is Instagram. Which is also, if you type in Mara Budweg, you should be able to find me.
All right. Well, thanks for that. And let's spin it up a little bit. You just said something about the military, and I know you're passionate about women who hunt and women in the military. Let's start off right with the military, and I'm going to ask you why you said that.
Okay, so I have been in the Iowa Army National Guard for 9 years this March, and it has probably been the most beneficial thing in my life. It's given me stability, service to our country, the networking opportunities available, and just what it has taught me as a person. The Army values alone are what I live by. And as far as being a woman in the military, I am outnumbered, so it gives me an opportunity to make myself better. I always want to be above and beyond the standard, to prove myself, and not that it's always necessary, but just to have that cutting edge and to give myself those opportunities, because, in today's society, more opportunities are opening up for women in the military and hunting, and I want to be ready for when those hit, and so I can take full advantage of those.
So, do you talk to other women on social media, or what are you trying to do with this passion, and what's your outlets for it?
I don't talk to a lot of women. Most of my contacts have been male, just because that's what it is predominantly. I don't know if there's a woman that I necessarily look up to in the hunting industry. I know I have my the emails in the military that I do, but as far as this outlet, it's more or less sharing my passion of the hunting industry with uninformed people or people that just want to learn more. I know that before I got involved, I was ignorant. I did not know the ins and outs. You've got the people that want to hate and that want to put your name in the dirt, and I'm a big advocate to educate. Because then, if you're educated, then you can educate other people. And it makes a huge difference coming from an agriculture background and animal processing and meat processing, kind of the same thing. You're going to have people that want to fight you on it, but if you can educate them and bring light to that situation, you can make the world a better place, per se.
Thanks for sharing that. And, you went to Iowa State for
yes, that's correct.
Ag services. Is that your job now?
Agricultural studies is what I studied at Iowa State, and shortly after that, I've been working in the ag industry. When I was in college and after college, it wasn't until about a year and a half ago that the active duty military opportunity popped up for me, and I started doing that full time instead of using my degree. Just it proved to be more conducive, and I really love what I'm doing right now. I also fulfill my agricultural needs outside of work with hunting, being involved in stuff at the family farm and whatnot.
So you got a family farm in Iowa?
Yes, my uncle has the farm. It goes back to my great-great-grandparents who came over from Germany, and it is a century farm, but it's just predominantly farm ground. There's not any hunting ground or any trees around there, really. So that's a disadvantage because we all would love that, but predominantly cattle, chickens, hogs, more of a hobby farm, but also some crops.
Now, I was thinking Iowa family farm. Wow, you should have a lot of places, but if it's all ag, there's no creek bottoms or little wood lots or fence rows?
Nope, unfortunately not. I'd say my ancestors, they weren't really thinking about that. When they settled, they were happy to get what they got, and if it was good farming ground, then that was the key.
Wow, that's that's I guess the easiest way to say it. That's really interesting because I know some places, especially in Kansas, you just think there's not a deer within 100 miles, and there's a little swale and there's a creek bottom with a few cottonwoods and stuff like that, and then fence rows, and all of a sudden you're hunting for pheasants and you bust out a buck. I've never been more surprised. The first time that happened to me, I was in the Dakotas. I went, holy, right, big shouldered buck just tears off. I'm going, geez, and, there isn't a swamp, there isn't a big thick stand of cover. There's nothing, just miles and miles of so-called prairie, but it's amazing what they can do with terrain.
Oh, definitely.
Let's talk about right now the role women are playing in the outdoors.
Well, it's very up and coming, if not, it's exploded. Knowing the big female names out there like Tiffany, Eva, Taylor Drury, they're out there. They're doing big things, which I think is great. More and more women are becoming involved, and that's great. I think, there's always been women interested. It's just how to find a way into it. There hasn't always been hunting clothing that has a woman's fit to it, or things that are for a woman, like a certain bow. You can make do with whatever you want if you really want to get out there, but a lot of people need that support and that push. So I more or less find my role as being a role model and having myself out there for people to see that I'm doing it and that it can be done.
Let's talk about what you see your role in the outdoor industry is.
Just being a good example, being a steward. That's the biggest thing. Doing things ethically and keeping to your morals.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. You mentioned some, A-list type people, and some of us will meet them and some of us won't. And, you just look at them. But as I say in the show, real people in real places, how do you share your love for hunting with other women or other people when you come across them downtown or in a store or at a restaurant or at a pro shop?
Well, I talk to them about my experiences because I find that really hits home the most. If you're just down to earth and you tell them your stories and how it affects you as a person, information and what they can see. And I also reach out to people and invite them to come with me and to share that passion, because when you get to experience it firsthand, you'll know if it's for you or not.
And so many times, I remember early on in Whitetail Rendezvous shows, Ace Luciano was, and he just said, add one more. And that was kind of his thing. And every year he'd add one more to the hunting. Young, old, male, female, didn't really matter. That was one of his goals, to add one more to the community. And hunting is a community, and we're all part of it. Some guys and gals like Fords and some like Chevys. Okay, some shoot Matthews, some shoot PSE or Bowtech. I get that. And there's all sorts of broadheads. And, I think you are pro staff for flying arrow archery.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, they have the Toxic. Now, just let's talk about that. They're supporting Whitetail Stalker. I get that. But what makes the Toxic broadhead, in your mind, your go-to, put on the ground, ethical kill? Why is it?
Just seeing the trials and the studies that people have done behind it, people that I know, not just having it slapped on the internet, and also using it myself and seeing firsthand how it can put an animal down. Just coming from that ag background, I've had to, do a lot of euthanasia. That's a big thing for me, and it needs to be ethical as quick as possible. That's how I want it done. So when I was approached with the Toxic, I thought, all right, this looks like it really fits the bill. And with my 2016 harvest, I can truly say that I firmly back it, because watching that deer go 15 yards and drop, I knew I did the best that I could, and I used the best equipment that I could.
So let's talk about your gear setup. Your bow, your arrows. Obviously, you use a Toxic, but let's talk about your setups and what you'd recommend, how another lady should pick out their gear.
Okay, so if you're new to archery, go buy a used bow. It's a lot of money to drop on a brand new bow, especially if it's bare. I got mine used, a used Matthews. It was a great size for me. It was light, and it came with everything on it. I think it was about $125, so I couldn't go wrong. So start with something used if you're starting out. Whisker biscuit is a great arrow rest to have, just because it helps with that form, and it helps as far as keeping that arrow in place. I now have a drop away because I'm more comfortable with that. What else is there? I started off with Easton arrows, and I still use that. I haven't converted to Element yet. I'm working on that. I've had really good luck with those. What else is there? Can you think of anything else, Bruce, that I'm leaving out?
Do you shoot fingers or release?
Oh, I shoot a release.
And who makes that?
Gosh, it's a pro ball.
And so, you mentioned you were in Shields or Sporting Goods store in your Sora bow. That was your draw length. How did you know it was your draw length and the bow was the right one you should shoot?
Well, they let me go back and try it, and when I anchored back and they had measured my draw length, 2 and 2 came together. It was a Matthews, so with that 6 cam, it was a meant-to-be thing. So I got that comfortable spot where I wanted to hook, and I just kept shooting from there. And so when my next bow came about, I knew where to go. But any archery shop that you go into, they'll be more than happy to measure your drawings for you and let you try some bows and let you try things out if you like a little lighter, a little heavier. Really just get out there and try stuff.
So that's, I can't say it better, because we all come onto social media, onto my podcast from all different points. I mean, I've had some really people who have been in business a long time and hunted a long time. I had one guy on the show that actually read a journal from Fred Bear. He met him. He's obviously my age, and he met him. And then you talk about people that Andy Hicks 17, 18 years old and is getting to the business. And so I just love what you bring and everybody brings to the show, because I'll say it again, we're all real people in real places, and we all have dreams and goals that we want to achieve. And you're making that possible. And we're at the time in the show now, you can give some shout outs for a minute or two, and then we're going to wrap the show, because like any great show on Whitetail Rendezvous, the time just flies by.
Oh, right. So I guess none of this would have started if it wasn't for Justin McCoy. So I have to thank him for that. Also, Flying Arrow Archery for really getting me started into what pro staffing is, and for creating the Toxic Broadhead, because it's awesome. And then, the Grand Staff and Whitetail Stalker. Mike really kind of took me under and really talked to me and made sure that I fit the bill for this group. And I really like the way that they're going, and they keep me motivated, and they keep me on top of it, and they make me want to be better. So I can't thank them enough.
And Mara Budweg, thank you so much for taking some of your time today on your drive home. Yes, I asked if she was on Bluetooth, folks. And sharing with thousands of listeners across North America, and just, another shout out to Mike Grandstaff and Shannon Sitton and Justin McCoy and all the crew at Whitetail Stalkers. We're on an interesting journey, and you're part of that. So thank you so much for being a guest on Whitetail Rendezvous.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Don't forget to tune in for the next episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. We're going to be visiting with Mark Olson, Monks out of Iowa, and he's part of the pro staff for White Stalkers. He really believes in passing it on to kids, and he's getting his kids in the stand self-filming. Now, that's pretty good parenting, if you ask me. He loves to hunt during the rut, and if at all possible.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.